posters on my wall. Every Saturday, rap attack, Mr. Magic Molly Mall. I let my tape rock till my tape pop. Smoking weed and bamboo, sipping on.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving week, everyone. Just to let you know, we are still looking for people to hold the ropes on the Jahmyr Gibbs Thanksgiving float. So if you're interested in that, just drop us a line and we'll hook you up so you can walk in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And in general, we've got a lot to be thankful around here. First and foremost, we're thankful for all of our viewers and listeners. We appreciate your kind feedback, your loyalty to the show and everything. And we also appreciate just having the time to devote to our addictive hobby. Not everybody has that kind of time or, finances or anything else. So we're thankful for the endless surprises that our hobby creates for us. Every week we got it let's make a deal. You never know what's behind the curtain. Could be a fabulous prize, could be a zonk. You just don't know. But what I do want to know from my co-host here is, who is one player you're unexpectedly thankful to have on your roster that you think is also going to provide you with a very Merry Christmas? So let's get into the Empire and find out. Matt, why don't you get us started?
For me, look, Drake May's my most owned quarterback, but he doesn't get the award here. I got to go with Matthew Stafford, a guy I really didn't draft much because I was worried about the injury, but I did pick up early, especially like every league that I drafted Bryce Young in, he was cut immediately. Matthew Stafford has 30 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He's really been the MVP in 6 of his last 8 games. Just in FFPC scoring, which is only 4 points per touchdown. He's got 25.5 points or more. It's just been unreal how good he's played. And for the people that lost Burrow early and got Stafford and started Stafford and not Browning. I picked up both, but I went Browning the first 2 weeks. That's the difference. If you started Stafford, you probably still had your season still survived. If you went Browning route, your season died.
Matt, real quick with that. I just had this conversation with someone the other day. I say it all the time, huge Burrow owner this year. But if you were the Burrow owner, when he went down and you went to the wire and Stafford was sitting there the whole time, you never felt a difference. Mm-hmm. That's the real crazy part. You went to the wire, you got Stafford, okay, and there was no drop off this whole year. Stafford's the MVP of football. He's the MVP of fantasy football at the quarterback position. This year, you never felt a drop off. So all the people that say, I lost Burrow, my season tanked after that, you could have saved it with Stafford. That's all I'm saying.
There you go. All right.
Oh, and real quick before we go on, to Stevie G out there, yeah, I started Darnell Mooney, I believe in all 3 leagues that I have him in. I know I started definitely in 2. So just a shout out to Stevie.
I gotta jump in one more time here, guys, this morning. I want to get this Darnell Mooney point out. I have a first place primetime team, right? That I had $1 left available last Wednesday night in Fab. I needed to go to the wire and get a wide receiver to play on this first place team. Okay, that's how beat up the team was, and with bye weeks and et cetera, et cetera. I look at all the wide receivers. I put in a whole list of about 12 wide receivers. Darnell Mooney, okay, was somehow available in this league. Obviously, I put him at the top for $1 and then followed with all these scrub receivers to get in there. I checked my waiver wire bids. Everyone in the league let Darnell Mooney slip through for $1 to me in this league. Got him for my last dollar, put him in, got 17 fantasy points. So at this point of the season, if
you know what, Chris?
Huh?
It's actually karma because last year you were the Darnell Mooney guy.
Maybe. But my point is, this late in the season, you're going to find a lot of teams in your league that aren't really just checking in or, playing the wire hard. You always got to put in that bid. You never know when something's going to slip through the cracks. 11 other teams let Darnell Mooney for $1 slip through the cracks in a primetime league. And he's just going to stay in my starting lineup until Drake London is out.
You like those 3 targets, I think, that he got, was it?
Who, Mooney? Yeah, I'll take the 16 points, though. Then.
He got that moon ball.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no doubt the outcome was
Shout out
fantastic.
to Steve G, though. Shout out to Stevie G. Great player, fantasy pianos, littered all over the the leaderboard. Great guy. Got to meet him at the bar, in New York for the live drafts. And you're welcome for that Dallas Cowboy bet last week. It was never a doubt, right, Steve?
He made some decent coin off of it. I was talking to him.
Good.
There you go.
That was I tell you what, guys, I haven't put in a big bet like that in a while, and that's how much I love Dallas. Points and money line last week. And I was talking to Paul Spateri. He was like, I can't believe you made me hammer this game. It was 21-0. I was like, I apologize. And I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. Terrible bet. One of my worst I've ever came out and said. And sure enough, hey, at the end.
That was crazy. With 11 minutes to go in the second quarter, they were up 21-0, and just like
it was a rout. I was like, "Holy shit! Christmas is canceled in the Vaccaro." I was done.
Those are the best ones to win, though, aren't they?
Everyone's getting IOUs.
Yeah, those are the best ones to win for sure.
Yeah, it was.
All right, Chris, what do you got? Who's your guy? Who's going to give you a Merry Christmas here?
Listen, been all in on day one, and he's got to carry me through for another 5 weeks here. It's got to be Jonathan Taylor for me, my most owned player, and
most owned player, second round pick.
Yeah.
Yes. We're looking for somebody you're unexpectedly thankful to.
That's impressive.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
I want to talk about this because that's impressive.
Nelson, 47. I'll text it over. 47% Jonathan Taylor. He was my automatic pick as soon as we got into the second round of every draft from July on. Listen,
I'm not easily impressed. Okay, that's impressive to me.
Well. It takes a lot to impress you boys, but if that impresses
you guys, it does.
Yeah.
Listen, to be all in on a second round pick, and
I didn't like this
50%.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Nelson, I'll be honest with you. I hated the second round this year, and there was only one guy that stood out to me that I loved in the second round. So I was never going to really, and he was going mid-second, sometimes late second. So I was taking him as early as 13th overall, 13, 14, 15. So it's worked out. That's all I can say.
So give me your unexpected guy, though.
Unexpected guy. God, Dan, give me a hit up Dan.
Chris, you should have said Darnell Mooney for $1.
We'll come back to Chris. We'll
I
go on to Nelson,
and
we'll give Chris a minute to think.
Yeah.
All right. So my unexpected guy is more of a hope, based on the lineups I'm looking at, is Troy Franklin, because what I've found is all my teams, or a majority of my teams, are weak at wide receiver, and I have more than enough running backs to play. So I've got flex options at running back. I'm good there. But my wide receivers are in shambles between being injured and underperforming and stuff. So Troy Franklin's the guy that I think from here on out might have to not carry my teams, but he's got to produce.
Well, Nelson, sticking with Franklin, look, he had that 1 week where he was the wide receiver 1 with the 26 points or something, but he's been solid. I mean, the air yards are there. If he could ever catch the ball and Knicks could ever stop overthrowing him. But him, and I would throw Alec Pierce in that. Those two guys, have been huge off the waiver wire additions for teams.
All right, there you go. Chris, you ready yet, or you want me to go?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this: a ton of Trey Benson shares, and with at the end of the game, Bam Knight getting hurt. I think we're gonna get Trey Benson back this week. It seemed like he was close last week. I'm hoping for an Arizona takeover. I'm obviously, I talked last week about how I thought the arrow was pointing up on this offense for the rest of the season. If he could come back into a bell cow role, he's going to be in my starting lineups on a lot of teams I'm taking to the playoffs. I'm going to need him to be a big time contributor in the fantasy playoffs for me.
All right, there you go. I'm going to throw out there Wan'Dale Robinson. Not a guy that I drafted really at all. He was a guy that I looked at as, no ceiling, decent floor, but no ceiling. Just not the kind of player that I'm looking to add at that point in the draft. And ever since the neighbor's injury, I've tried to grab as many shares as I could, which isn't money, but I grabbed what I could, and I did I think you guys might remember this. In one of my dynasty leagues, I traded Calvin Ridley for Wan'Dale Robinson straight up at week 5. And since week 5, Wan'Dale Robinson has only had 1 week below a 27% target market share. 5 of the 7 weeks have been 34% target market share or higher. And during week 6 to 12, the Giants' schedule, 24th best for wide receivers, strength of schedule. Coming up this weeks 13 through 17, number 1 overall best wide receivers, strength of schedule.
And Dan, I think that's a great observation by you. But I tweeted out this morning, imagine a world where Malik Neighbors didn't get hurt, and these last 8 games he had Dart and James throwing to him.
I'm still convinced it would be a top 6, 8 fantasy offense. Top 6. It sounds crazy, but the way what's Dart has shown us, before he got banged up, with a healthy Neighbors, Theo Johnson contributing over the middle as a solid tight end, and Wan'Dale Robinson in the slot with Slayton on the other side. It's a good offense going into next season. And Scadaboo, and your boy, rest in peace, Scadaboo.
Oh, Jesus! I mean that changed the trajectory. Scadaboo is the most, for me, he was my most owned running back outside of Bouchard, who was a lottery pick. But the weird thing about Scadaboo here is he's the reason why I was able to get teams in as a piece that was able to bridge for like the Trevions and ones that I drafted. But he's also a guy that killed teams because once he got hurt, I just couldn't, get there. So, I mean, just imagine if Dart comes back, Jameis could be like wide receiver 3 on that team.
What an unbelievable play, right? That could have been the play of the year. Jameis Winston
really
knocking defenders down. I'm like, he catches the ball at the 10 and he knocks down the defensive back. And I'm like, who the F is this receiver?
He was
and
like
I didn't even realize
Washington.
it was Winston. I'm like, holy shit, that's Winston catching the ball.
That was a jump out of my seat, laughing and yelling at the TV all at once.
Unbelievable.
I mean, I was literally bounded out of my seat on that one. That was so good.
Unbelievable. Dan, though, to your point, Wan'Dale Robinson, every year in draft season, we overlook this guy. He goes, and pick 150, 125. Nobody wants him. Everybody calls him the, Mr. 5 for 50, the PPR king, like all that shit. And then somehow, some way, seasons break right for him. And by the end of it, you're looking at him, he's a wide receiver 2 in your fantasy lineup, and you're playing up against teams, and you're like, God damn it, the guy put in Wan'Dale Robinson against me and got 25 fantasy points. Things had to break right for him again, obviously, with Neighbors going down. But can't overlook it. It was a great fantasy pick this year.
Yeah, and you might even consider that, had Neighbors, stayed healthy, maybe Wan'Dale would have been that guy that, kind of saw no coverage and, was an easy check down option too. So he might have done fine even with Neighbors. I think, this was probably the best run out for Wan'Dale, but, he could have done good.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into our observations, Matt, did you have any other players you wanted to hit?
We could just go through the observations. I'll nail them through there. Don't worry.
All right, sounds good. We're gonna do a quick ad. We'll be right back.
Oh, working out so important for your health, for your sex life, for everything, just everything in general. I perform better across the board, podcasting, you name it. The last thing I need to be thinking about is, creating a new workout routine. That's why we have FitBod. It prevents you from plateauing. It's so customizable in that I have one super strong shoulder and one kind of weak shoulder. And yet the FitBod app helps me customize my workouts to improve the strength and the endurance. I go in, my physical therapist is like, I can't believe you're doing this many. And I'm like, I know. Can you believe this? And he's like, yeah, this is crazy. So level up your workouts. They have over 1,000 demonstration videos. And join FitBod today to get your personalized workout plan, which includes 25% off, or try the app for free for 7 days. Go to fitbod.me/player, fitbod.me/player, FITBOD/player for 25% off for 7 days free.
All right.
I feel seen.
Thank you for that, Matt Kelly. Last thing I wanted to think about was Matt Kelly's sex life, but, we move on. All right. Matt, get us back
How do
on
we get
track.
stuck with that one?
Okay, for the observations, we're going to start off with that I'm kind of surly this morning.
Preach, Matt. Preach.
I got 15 gorillas in, 10 got the automatic berth. But, I mean, there's probably like 10 or 12 soldiers that got, like, blown up this week. You know, my cute little butt was passed around like Andy Dufresne when he went to prison, you know, early on in that movie. So, you know, that was disappointing. Starting Purdy over Dak was a terrible decision. You know, if you want to do that Anchorman meme when he's drinking the milk, it really was. It looked good early on. You know, I was like, okay. But, you know, the Eagles stopped playing. J.A. and Lamar, they didn't even get to 16 points combined. So, I mean, Josh Allen went from 6 touchdowns to 0. That was just woeful. The one thing in that game, the breakout that did happen, was Jaden Higgins. He had 7 targets in the first half. He only had 1 reception. The dude literally should have had over 100 yards. He had a 70-yard touchdown. If Davis Mills just throws him the ball, the guy fell. I should be wearing a monocle this morning with all the money I would have won on that ladder. But, you know, at least he went over the over for his yards. Running backs. Tuten, as we spoke about yesterday, Chris correctly put the Charlie Brown gift in there. That, you know, I don't think you were a donkey if you played Tuten. You had to be optimistic going into that game. Just, what's his name? ETN on the first drive, just took it, ran with it. Trevion, he pulled a full Saquon. He got to the 1-yard line like twice, and then they gave it to everybody else. You know, Devontae Adams is hurts when they get to the 1-yard line. This guy, in 38 games, Puka has 13 touchdowns. In 11 games with the Rams, Devontae has 12 touchdowns. 8 of his touchdowns in the last 5 games were for 15 yards. I think he might have added another one. It's just mind-boggling. Emeka Egbuka, who was everybody's darling, rookie of the year, looked like he had it cinched. First 6 games, 18 points per game. The last 6, 8 points per game. 5 of those 6, under 10 points. And welcome back, Brenton Strange. I got to say that. Last thing I will leave you with, everybody early on was, you know, giving Warren his flowers, and he deserved it. But Colston Loveland in the last 5 games has 6 less catches than Warren. He has 8 more yards and 2 more touchdowns. So, you know, you got to let the season play out. Loveland was banged out throughout the camp. And, you know, both great players. Not shitting on Warren, you know, because I said something about Loveland, and I know everybody gets touchy.
All right, Matt took us around the league.
I know. Matt always
Matt
has
covered
the,
every-
What do we have left?
in his
It's
observations.
observations. I just
Observation.
That's
One observation.
One observation.
Not 27 observations on
I
28
did 5
players.
observations.
It's an observation. What do you see? Anyway,
You guys can always expand on it.
listen. Yeah, go ahead. Who's next?
All right.
You know what? I got one thing I want to say to Matt's thing. Matt, I fell for the same trap. I made a huge mistake this past week. You brought up Brock Purdy. You went Purdy over Dak. Last week I said that the 49ers offense, I thought, could be one of the best fantasy offenses the rest of the season. I was turning over a big team over to Brock Purdy. I thought he was in a great spot. I made the mistake of starting him over Jalen Hurts. Okay, Jalen Hurts and Dak gave 35 fantasy points in NFFC, so we both did pretty much the same mistake. I don't know if last night's game changed everyone's opinion here on Brock Purdy. I know it did me. You know, I did not like what I saw with Purdy. Too slow of an offense last night, methodical, you know, CMC, which is great. I love that. But, you know, run, pass, move the chains, yada, yada, yada. And he's got nothing on his ball. You know, he's got nothing. He's throwing. It worked in the past. I just can't see it going forward. I'm a little backing off the Brock Purdy love the rest of the season. I guess I'll say it that way.
Yeah, I'm still in on Kittle. I'm still in on CMC, but yeah, Purdy is just not looking quite right.
Did they activate Ricky Pearsall off the IR yet?
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet. Not
Still
yet.
working on that. Still
We'll
working on
get
that.
there.
Purdy and Pearsall was like devastating to me. I had that. It was true.
But you also bring up Emeka Ibuka, and I wanted to touch on him as well. Emeka Ibuka and Ricky Pearsall, I want to put them in the same conversation and the same observation. You know, early in the season, these two guys blew up. They were that 5th to 7th round, 2 wide receiver darlings that got off to the hot starts. Obviously, Ricky goes backwards and gets hurt, and he comes off IR now, and he's had 2 really slow games. Ibuka, I guess all the coverage is going to him. I don't know what's going to turn his season around. Nelson, Dan, maybe you got some observation on what's hurting Ibuka, but Ibuka has been real quiet for a month now. Obviously, Evans and Godwin not being around probably hurt him more than helped him. And, the moral of the story is it was 2 guys that looked like they were going to have a wide receiver 1 season. Their fantasy owners aren't happy with how the last couple months have gone if you own these 2 guys.
And
Yeah,
before
I
we
think
move on,
Go ahead, Nelson.
go Nelson.
So I think with Pearsall at this point, it's a McCaffrey offense, right? Everything revolves around McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's a check down in the passing game to McCaffrey. Pearsall's running a lot of like clear out routes, and Purdy's not looking really downfield to hit him too many times. So unfortunately, like that's just a guy you can't start right now. And then with Ibuka, he's hit that wall where defenses are keying in on him a little bit more. Baker is not playing the best right now. He's playing injured. You can just tell that he doesn't look right. So unfortunately, those are 2 of my most owned wide receivers that I have. And that's what I was saying like before the show, that I have more running back options than I do wide receivers. And like I wish I was in a trading league right now, because I need to get rid of some of this running back depth and get some wide receivers on the team.
It's a good problem to have, Nelson, right?
Well, Nelson,
Well, yes and no,
up.
only because my wide receivers are just not, they're either injured or they're underperforming.
Yeah, inconsistent probably is the word you're looking for. No, because I think that's been the story of fantasy this year is inconsistency at the wide receiver position.
I'll give you like a guy like T. Higgins, right?
T. Higgins, exactly. You read my mind.
He's starting to take off. Things are looking good, right? And boom, concussion. Now you're going to miss a week of Higgins at least. Yeah. So it's just those kind of things that it's just been, Harrison, right? Harrison was starting to look good with Brissett. It looked like maybe his season was going to start taking off. Boom, a surgery, and now Wilson's taking over the show. Looks like a monster. Adunze, right? Started off on fire to start the year, and now things have really quieted down. He's had some drops. Caleb. It's just not running out. The way ideally for some of these receivers.
Yeah. And I'm sure we're all in the same boat. You get stuck with, the 4 in your lineup at the wide receiver position from a guy that's you're relying on for a 20 each week, 1 or 2 of those every week. You can't just get the consistency of, the JSN type games. Obviously, he's been a dream for his owners. But, I go through my life, same thing. Higgins has got the we didn't love Higgins going into this past week with Gonzalez. No. That really wasn't the problem. But 8 fantasy points. Now we lose him again. Now you got to replace him. It's like you're never playing with a full deck, and you're fully hitting other teams with your full main roster of starters that are consistent, where you could see the ceiling of your fantasy team. And we're running out of time. There's only 2 weeks left, 1 week if FFPC. So it's frustrating at the wide receiver position this year.
Well, before we move, I tried teeing Nelson up with the Tuten. I figured he'd have comments on that, so you can. Here's your chance.
I haven't gotten to my observations yet, Matt.
I was got his observation.
I was backing off of.
We'll get to that one, Matt. We'll get to that one for sure.
But Dan, I will say one thing. We were going back and forth, and you said Tuten was a desperation play, and I disagreed with that. And I'll give you my definition of what was a desperation play this week. Having to start like a Jordan Mason or a Michael Carter, I wouldn't put Tuten in there. That would be my argument.
Yeah, that's real desperate.
Yeah.
Now,
there's desperation, and then there's.
I agree with Matt on that one. I don't agree with Dan with the desperation because I own Tuten in a couple leagues, and in one league, a big league of mine, I started him this week. I said, listen, he's coming off a nice game the week before. I got to stick him in, but the chat's great today. We got guys looking for stock advice. He's looking to load up for Christmas. He's trying to get.
Here's my advice: if you got a kid, make him become an electrician because that's going to be the market. Screw college.
Yeah.
Become an electrician.
Or an NFL kicker. I mean, Brandon Aubrey.
Dan, let's throw up Nick Constantino's question real quick if we could get to that. There's a lot of good questions and comments in the section in the chat today. We got to hit some of them. Pickens has been a dream. Obviously, one of the best picks in fantasy this year. Absolute dream for where he was going. Do you guys remember after the first opening game when Pickens bombed and he started falling to the 7th and 8th rounds of drafts the next 2 days? Is that wild? Unbelievable. But no, I still don't think, maybe I'm crazy, I still don't think that Pickens is looked at as the one over Lamb in Dallas.
My wide receiver one on teams is Parker Washington, and you guys are fucking worried about who's the first rounder next year?
No. You want to hear a crazy stat?
Solid, Nelson.
Crazy stat. George Pickens has more receiving yards than the entire Steelers wide receiver core. And even another crazy stat. JSN has, what I heard, I trust the source, has the second hardest wide receiver schedule to this point. He's been the number one by a mile.
JSN?
JSN, yeah. Second hardest. Who had the third hardest? The Dallas Cowboys. And George Pickens is just eating like crazy. So
and I love their schedule going for the rest of the way now. It's like, they had a couple tough games, and Kansas City's going to be a tough one on Thanksgiving. By the way, let me slip in happy Thanksgiving week to all you boys. It's my favorite week. Absolutely, and my favorite day is Thanksgiving with that. So, listen, it's a tough game versus Kansas City, but after that Dallas offense can explode the rest of the season, and I love that we're all in on it.
Just remember the difference between if you went Pickens or Ridley. Everybody loved Ridley too.
Yep.
And he was a high flyer, so a lot of smart people, overall winners, Hall of Fame. I was on Ridley too. But luckily I wasn't able to get him as much, and I got more Pickens. So that's just how your season turns, right there.
Sure.
Yep. Yeah. So, going back to Matt's Bhayshul Tuten, desperation plays, all of that kind of stuff. I think it kind of depends on how you define a desperation play. I think my definition is just a little bit different than you guys. For me, if I'm not pretty confident in a player, it's a desperation play. Like if I'm starting Kyle Manangi any week right now, he's a little bit more of a desperation play. I mean, he's not somebody that I feel like can necessarily get me to 10 points pretty much any week. I think he's got a shot at 10 points for sure, maybe even 50-50. But Bhayshul Tuten, I mean, he'd done even less than Manangi. And, he had some flashes. Yes, he's shown us some good runs. He's shown us some good receptions. But he hasn't really put together a good game until week 11. He puts together one good game, and then we're all trying to anoint him. And I just don't get that. I mean, I understand putting him in when you need him, and I'm not faulting Chris or Matt or anybody else. Heck, I put him in. I even put him in over Manangi in one league just to change it up a little bit because I had Manangi going in like 3 other leagues. And I'm like, I don't want to be this dependent on one guy that I still don't really trust. So, I put in Tuten. But, to me, that's how are you gonna, how can you look at Tuten and say, yeah, this guy's for sure gonna get me 10 points?
I don't think you can say for sure, but you have Achan on a bye, Vidal on a bye.
Well, yeah, that's what makes you desperate.
But it's not that. It's supposed to be like your bench. You're supposed to have a bench. Like, this is a guy. Like,
you can't really go to your bench and take a superstar off of it. You got to at some point
hear me out. He had 15 carries for like 75 yards, a touchdown, going into like the fourth quarter. If he doesn't get hurt and plays the fourth quarter, finishes with over 100 yards, another touchdown. Now, if you want to say because of the ankle injury, you thought it was a desperation play, then I could buy that. But you had to be excited about Tuten going into that
but
game.
the thing is, ETN had done nothing to lose the job. Nothing.
But I wasn't saying. But it doesn't matter.
Look at Kenny Gainwell in Pittsburgh. Same situation.
Yeah,
right. And that was kind of the run out I was hoping for Tuten, is he could turn into a Gainwell.
You were hoping that he had the same as the week prior. I don't think that, to me, that was, you had to be excited to play him. I don't see how you weren't.
I wasn't excited to play him. I'm sorry. I just wasn't. I get it. If he was the next man up in your lineup.
I think what happened was it got overblown and he got hyped up too much because what happened was on Twitter and then everywhere you turned, it just seemed like
came out.
It just seemed like everyone was talking about Tuten and talking about breakout season and here it comes, right? And I think that's more to Dan's point. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but from my point of view, obviously I'm biased, right? I've got a ton of ETN. I do have Tuten on teams. It's not like I don't dislike the kid, right? It's just when I look at it, I think people wanted to connect the dots. Liam Cohen was in Tampa Bay last year when Bucky took over for Rachaad White. The difference I feel is that Rachaad White was struggling and did not look good last year when Bucky finally took over. And I think people were looking at it as Cohen's now with the Jaguars. Tuten had a really good combine, ran like a sub 4.4, and this is the guy. And then they trade Bigsby in the preseason. It's like, okay, here he comes. Like this is going to be the guy. Everyone left ETN for dead to start the year. I don't think there was many people, beating the drum for ETN. So the season goes on. It never happens. He never takes over. Okay. And then during the bye week or after the bye week, we get another, we get a little more hype. Okay. For after the bye week that it's going to be Tuten season. Like we're going to get the bump. Tuten's going to take more from ETN. ETN hasn't looked good, blah, blah, blah. And then 3 weeks go by. That doesn't happen. And then last week, then you start seeing, okay, now he's getting more of the share. He's getting more carries. I looked at it more of Cohen was riding the hot hand and Tuten had looked good and he was running well. And ETN still had a good game in that game. It wasn't like he was, garbage. So when I was looking at it this week and I was seeing some of the calls that just kind of in general, I'm not even going to point people out. I don't care about putting people on blast. But it was
point them out, Nelson. That's what we do here. PG, you kidding me?
No. There was some legit. I'm talking legit accounts, right? Some legit people out there in fantasy talking about starting Tuten over ETN.
Yeah.
And that to me, that's where I was like, okay, you got to draw the line at some point. Like we're getting way ahead of ourselves if that's what we're doing. Because if you're starting Tuten over ETN, there's some other calls that you're going to be making where you're starting Tuten over legit options on your team. That's where I was like, okay, I think we're getting a little crazy. And that's where I'm trying to defend Dan a little bit when he's saying desperation play is that he's looking at it like, okay, like Tuten's, you look on your bench and you're like, I could use an RB2 this week. I've got Harvey and I've got all Achan on buys or whatever. I'm going to stick him in. I feel pretty good about myself. Mm-hmm. That I agree with. I just don't think that I don't think people that started him over like got too bullish.
That's jumping the sharp now. So I'll agree with all that. But you can't tell me, like I said, the Chargers too. The previous month, their defense was playing really good, and I watched that game versus the Chargers, and the guy looked really good. And I don't know how you walked away from that game. Not saying that he was going to usurp him and get 90, 80%, but you wanted the same kind of share, like a 50-50. And for me, if you owned Achane, Harvey, Vidal, who every other week is really good,
Matt, I don't think anybody's
All right,
fighting
Joe,
you on this.
but listen, we could
if
go
Tuten
on and
was-
on about Tuten.
Yeah.
Does he go right back to everyone's bench this week?
I mean, who they put with? Now, here's the crazy thing: they're playing Tennessee. I mean, if you have good options, he's
Right, but
going to
nobody's.
So let me put a bow on
Nobody's
this.
on a bye this week. You shouldn't have to go to Tuten,
shouldn't have
even
to.
in a big
100%
matchup versus
right.
Tennessee.
Let me put a bow on this, Matt. If he's the next man up on your bench, no, I wouldn't have been trying to find somebody else. That's not what I meant by desperation play. If he's the next best guy on your bench, then you put him in there, and you feel like he's got a decent shot. I totally agree with that. But my point was I had the Manon guys, I had the Gainwells, I had guys like that, Woody Marks, and I'm starting all those guys over Tuten. Period.
Shout out to the chat.
I mean, Woody Marks.
How Dan Tux pronounces Manungai.
It's terrible.
By the way,
It's my
Woody
favorite
Marks
player, and I can't pronounce it.
has been the biggest disappointment these past 2 weeks in 2 ultimate smash spots.
Who has?
I mean, he's really Woody Marks,
Woody
Tennessee
Marks.
and Buffalo. I mean, I was
But that,
so
that's
fan,
part.
I thought
Yeah, that's partly the team he plays for, though. Their offensive line is just not that good at run blocking.
but I mean,
The offense is
again.
Yeah.
Just the matchups were just so tasty, especially the Bills.
Yeah. I was hoping for more, for sure. No doubt about it. All right. Chris, I think you're up next.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Let's see which way to go here. I got a couple
kickers
things,
and defense. That's what's left.
Yeah.
Take your pick.
Well, we'll hold off on that for the next trip around here if we get to it. But I got to. We can't go any further on this show. What the f, Jameson Williams? What the hell happened? How does Jameson Williams drop a 0 in a game where Detroit throws it 100 million times and they're trailing all game in a shootout that goes to overtime, and you drop a bagel? This guy is the ultimate feast or famine player in fantasy. Okay, we just started jumping on the Jameson Williams train. Okay, it put up 2 good weeks in a row. Laporta's gone. I don't know what to do with this guy. Do we just keep rolling him out there week after week now with a Lions offense where he's the clear number 2 target, but just disappeared? It reminded me of the Roma Dunze 0 earlier in the season when they put up 30-something points in a shootout and everybody ate except him, who got a 0. A lot of weird performances. Stephon Diggs went and disappeared now too. He drops a one-catch performance in a really good setting.
But he doesn't play tight end, and it was the Bengals, so that's pretty much what
it was
we
Hunter
expect.
Henry week. I hear you. Jordan
Hunter
Addison.
Henry in every single one of my lineups, every single one. I didn't care who I had to start him over. Hunter Henry in every single one.
There you go. Big Hunter
Tight
Henry.
ends versus the Bengals.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, Mark Andrews
just
this week,
unbelievable. But Jordan Addison, another one. I don't think we could play Jordan Addison going forward. The quarterback position is absolute trash. If you own Justin Jefferson as well this year, you're probably not making the playoffs. It's been a complete bust pick. Not on him. He's the man. He's great, but the quarterback situation is just god awful.
Can I say something about that? Justin Jefferson has been quarterback proof his entire career. Not with JJM. I mean,
that's how. Yeah.
You want to hear a
saying
crazy
something.
stat from the year 2000? Out of 852 quarterbacks,
Yeah.
EPA per play, JJ McCarthy is 8 51. I think Jamarcus Russell's the
only one worse than him. Imagine that. That's how bad it is. And now they're giving him a fake concussion to get him out of the lineup here. I don't know if any of you guys know anything about Bomer. Dan, you're in Vikings country over there. He's got to be better. You might have to go to the stadium.
He was a starting quarterback for the Gophers, and if I actually cared about the Gophers, I might know something about him. But I don't think anybody's cared about the Gophers for 50, 60 years. So,
Well, I'm willing to take a chance and just put him under center because it can't be worse than J.J. McCarthy. God awful. I mean, it still boggles my mind that, J.J. McCarthy, I know we touch on him each week, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. To me, I really think the fantasy community got sucked into the J.J. McCarthy hype in July and August. He was one of those guys that got talked about, like the R.J. Harveys and the Trevion Hendersons. He was one of the hottest names, probably the hottest name at the quarterback position for fantasy. Everybody, stack up on running backs and wide receivers, wait on quarterback, and just get a J.J. McCarthy. There was so many top analysts in fantasy in this industry that were all in on J.J. McCarthy. Now they're nowhere to be found. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want – Dan, you
that was me.
Fine. But no, that's fine. Listen, we all go in on certain players
But I mean,
but I'm talking in the industry across the board. He was the hottest named quarterback for fantasy. People were building their teams around him. You can't be this wrong. You watch the Rose Bowl. They hid J.J. McCarthy versus Alabama. Okay? If you're going to be a top-level NFL quarterback, in college you're getting hidden versus a good team, it's crazy to me.
If you built your team around J.J. McCarthy, that was your mistake. I mean, I don't know anybody who is out there recommending that you build your team around him. I know a lot of people who are recommending that.
You're talking real life or fantasy?
Fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah, fantasy.
Yeah. I think that's more like serious XM kind of stuff.
No, it was a legit strategy. Wait on quarterback, and in those, middle
in high stakes, I don't think that was happening. Look, he was a popular number 2 as an upside guy. Like, that I understood, but I wasn't drafting him as a 1 and, roll my thing. You had to like the situation with JJ, Addison, the running backs they had, the head coach who's pretty much revived every quarterback that he gets his hands on. And it was a bust. It was like Bryce Young. At least here's the difference. At least Bryce Young, you got to dump after week 1. You held on to JJ.
Bryce Young looked like shit last night.
Here's what I was doing. And I drafted a lot of JJ McCarthy, guilty as charged, 100%, because of the situation. He's with Kevin O'Connell, a quarterback whisperer, a guy who made the Pastronaut look good. Nick Mullins look good. He's a guy who made all these quarterbacks look good. He made Sam Darnold, come back from the dead. So, yeah, I don't think it was bad to be in on J.J. McCarthy, but if he was your number 1 option, that's where your problem was. I had a lot of teams that were Drake May and J.J. McCarthy, or, Jared Goff, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy. If I was going quarterback late, he was always one of my options. But I was also putting other guys around him, guys that I trusted a little bit more because, this guy hadn't played an NFL snap yet. So, if you trusted him to build your entire team around you, that was on you.
Yeah. Scotty the King checking in here. Look at that. He's right. This week, Sam Darnold versus the Vikings. Revenge game. Seattle, Minnesota.
The only question about Sam Darnold going forward is, does he turn into a pumpkin again this year?
I don't see it.
I didn't see it last year neither. I'm going to be honest with you.
I think he does. When he gets up against some tough defenses, he's not going to do enough. You saw what happened when he played the Rams. Right? They had a chance to win that game, but I'll tell you what, it wasn't Darnold that was getting them there. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know.
All right, so my observation was just a lot of bombing of wide receivers in situations that, it's unexpected. We see it now too much each week, is just too many guys disappearing in good spots.
Just because you're on the wide receiver, my one quick thing, you mentioned it, like T. Higgins. Like, I knew I had to start T. Higgins, but I really didn't want to. And pretty much Gonzalez just shut him down.
Yeah, there's no sitting a T. Higgins though.
Yeah.
It's you got to take medicine and hope that it's.
But you knew it was coming. Was my point.
Yeah. Oh, my last thing with wide receivers was Nico Collins. Huge disappointment this past week. 3 targets. That's unacceptable. I don't know how you wind up with 3 targets in a game versus the Bills that went actually up and down. Second half, he wasn't even targeted. Like, what are we doing here? Like, start making more sense, NFL coaches. He's your elite wide receiver 1. Again, just like to tie it all back to Jameson Williams, things were just starting to point up. I feel like there was a week that week 12 was a story that we could tell about guys that had the arrows pointing up. We were all ready to jump on board, and then they just completely fizzled. Brock Purdy, Nico Collins, Jameson Williams, guys like that. And it's a story of fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, and I just want to say this is probably the most negative thing I've seen Scott say about the Seahawks yet. So.
Yeah.
All right, Nelson, what do you got?
I would say that I really like the Tampa Bay schedule for down the stretch and into the playoffs, and I'm a little worried. Baker's been banged up. He looks like he got hurt or re-injured. His left shoulder looks like it's a possible AC sprain. The offense just doesn't look that good. Like, they looked okay against like Buffalo, but that was because Sean Tucker went crazy. But like, that's a team that I'm worried about because, and we touched on it already, is like Ibuka. What does that look like for him? He's strung together a bunch of mediocre games. So my observation is like, I'm a little worried about that offense. Minnesota, same thing. If you've got Jefferson, it's almost like you feel like, I actually have a primetime team that's pretty good. That's in a playoff spot right now, and it's got Jefferson. And I thought that would be unique in the shootout. So I kind of like that. But I just don't have any confidence, with the way McCarthy's playing, that Jefferson can have a big game moving forward. So hopefully Brosmer is a guy that can come in and maybe he can get hot and he can target Jefferson. So that's another offense like where Addison started off hot with Wentz as soon as he came back from suspension. He was putting up double-digit points, solid.
It was lucky, though, Nelson. Remember the game overseas? He had a 0 in the fourth quarter. He caught a touchdown. He got he bailed you out with like 15 fantasy points. It happened again. I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago. He had one catch at the end of the game. He catches the touchdown. He gets to 11 fantasy points. It's a bailout again. Like, Addison's just not it. And I'll tell you right now, he will not be in my starting lineup again the rest of the season.
No, I get it. But that's what I'm saying is.
But you're right, Nelson.
When he first came off of his suspension, he was putting up double-digit points. Mm-hmm. So it was like, ooh, okay, we got a guy here that we can put in as our wide receiver 3, maybe in the flex, and we're cooking. So that's another observation. And then my last one, which is really, really disappointing, is the Kansas City offense.
Oh,
yeah, that was
like. I mean, Mahomes, like we put the jinx on him. Like, a few weeks ago, we were talking about what quarterbacks do we want the rest of the year. We were talking up Mahomes, but I'll tell you what, really disappointed in this offense. It almost seems like I can't quite pinpoint it, but it almost seems like defenses are playing like a cover 4 against Kansas City, where they're just not allowing any deep balls at all, and they're saying, you got a shit running game with Kareem Hunt, and go ahead, run the ball.
30 carries, 30 carries. Kareem Hunt. What effing year is this? Yeah, Kareem Hunt is like a legit like RB1 nowadays. Like,
and then like everything is. It just seems like defenses are like throw the ball 3 yards out to Kelsey and Rice, and everything is around the line of scrimmage with Worthy, like. And run the ball. Go for it. Like, dink and dunk us, so we get in the
Kareem Hunt might be the best short yardage back in the league. I'll say that. He's been pretty dominant in that, whether getting the first downs or the touchdown.
Sure, but I'm just saying for fantasy,
he's been a huge save.
this just totally sucks because
without a doubt.
it seems like Kansas City's content. They want to play defense and kick field goals.
And,
like that.
and I'll make the weekly Bouchard comment. When the guy gets a chance, the one guy that looks like he has juice on the field.
Now Pacheco is supposed to come back for Thanksgiving game here. Pacheco's back in the fold. I'm actually glad about that because, I'm getting sick and tired of watching Kareem Hunt save fantasy teams with 20 fantasy points or whatever.
Is that going to change even with Pacheco back, though? That's the question.
But you know what? It's kind of – I mean, listen, it might just still be Kareem Hunt's backfield, but at least Pacheco can, chip into that, I would think. I don't think they're going to make Kareem Hunt get 30 carries every week here and be what did he have snap percentage wise, like 80%? I mean,
let me ask you guys a really gross question. Are you starting? It has nothing to do with Matt Kelly's sex life, okay?
He's a legend.
Are you gonna? Let's say you had this choice between Kareem Hunt and Bhayshul Tuten this next week. Where you start?
I'm going to start Hunt.
I don't have those problems.
I don't have those problems. I don't have Hunt.
Nelson wants to know Parker Washington or John.
No, it's worse. Parker Washington's my number one, Dan. He's solidified. He's in the lineup. Okay, I want to I'm talking like John Mechie, problems.
Being that you mentioned receivers, let's go to the point like Michael Wilson when Harrison comes back. What about that?
Before we get away from Kansas City, though, I got one thing on that. We were talking about Mahomes 3 weeks ago, like Nelson said, his schedule upcoming. It looks brutal. It's the 30th best for quarterbacks.
Who is it? Go ahead, Dan.
What?
Who is it, Dan? Read the schedule because, Thursday night's a dream. Thursday's a dream spot.
Thursday's a dream, but then out of the next 4 games, they've got Houston, the Chargers, and Denver is 3 of those 4.
Houston, Chargers, Denver.
And then I forget who the other one is. Let me check real quick. Looks like, at Tennessee. So that one's an easy one, but still, that's a pretty brutal schedule moving forward.
Listen, what I see is what Nelson just said, okay? Their drives are too long and methodical because the defenses are playing back. They're not trying to get burned. And when that happens for fantasy purposes, when you're a Mahomes owner or everything, you don't get that quick minute-and-a-half strike drive where you start getting a back and forth, okay? Defenses are more than fine to not get burned and let Mahomes go 5-10 yards at a time down the field and go with a 6 or 7 minute drive. Okay, that sucks for us for fantasy purposes. We need the quick. Where was the back in the day Mahomes 70-yard touchdown pass on the second play of the drive to Worthy ice or boom, boom, boom? Like I'd love to see them go no huddle. Pick up the tempo, something. They're just methodical, and I thought they had a really good game this past Sunday versus the Colts. They tied for 3 quarters.
The problem is you still can't throw the deep ball. The week prior, early on in that game, Worthy was wide open, had the guy beat. It would have been like a huge, long touchdown. Overthrows him by like 5 feet, not even close.
Yeah, Mahomes' deep ball has been not on point.
As a Bills fan, I would love to see them trade, what's his name, Kincaid for Worthy. I think it helps both teams next year.
We'll look for that in the offseason. Hopefully Kincaid comes back in the next week or two for the fantasy run. The Bills desperately need Kincaid back.
Yeah, and I have a few teams to that point.
Definitely need a receiver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
all right, who's next?
That'd be me, and I was kind of going the same place that Matt was wanting to go. So let's just go there. Some wide receivers that you guys think we can count on, moving forward. Obviously, Michael Wilson is good until Marvin Harrison Jr. comes back. But what about?
I don't know about that, Dan. I don't know about that.
What don't you know?
I said I don't know about that in terms of Michael Wilson's good only until Harrison comes back.
Well, yeah, that's why I didn't say until. We know he's good until then, but then after that, what are we saying?
I think it's a high-powered offense with 2 really good receivers as options and the best tight end in football. And I think this offense can with Brissett. I think it's a team that scores high 20s and early low 30s each game the rest of the season. So that's what I see. The question is how does a team hide a Michael Wilson this long and needed Harrison to get out of the lineup to expose a Michael? But Michael Wilson was sitting on waiver wires for 10 weeks.
It's
as
the
if he was
Kyler camouflage. That's how.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
quarterback.
Look at Jacoby. I mean, look, I saw a stat where Marvin Harrison hasn't received more than 7 targets in a game. Wilson had 7 targets at the half. He's got 25 targets in the last 2 weeks. Only Jamar Chase has more in a 2-week period.
Yeah, listen, you won't see Kyler Murray again the rest of this season for Arizona. There's absolutely no way they'll turn this offense back over to him. I
don't think you'll see him play another game for the Cardinals. Period.
Yeah, that's
Let's trade him for him.
Yeah.
Taking that contract.
Somebody will take a chance on him for sure. But okay, a couple other receivers. How about who could have seen with the Jets that we would have John Mechie and A.D. Mitchell leading the Jets wide receiver corps? I mean, they weren't even on the team to start the year, but Mechie, I think, is somebody that I'm pretty interested in. I know he's out there on quite a few waiver wires still. I did some cleanups on him on Sunday, and I got him in a few, but I had a couple guys ahead of him that I probably shouldn't have. Now I'm wishing that Mechie had been my top ad on that Sunday run, but or Saturday night run, depending on which format you play. But what do you guys think on Mechie?
I'll say this. We just talked about Arizona. The Jets did the same exact thing that Arizona did. They went and said, listen, we're going to put a veteran quarterback back there that could get the ball to the receivers, okay? The same way Arizona did with Brissett. They put Tyrod back there, and now he's finding guys. And Mechie's had 2 good weeks in a row. He's going to be a nice waiver wire ad here, and he's producing. He looks like the top guy for them the rest of the way here.
Like you just said, Chris, I think the best news I saw was when the Jets moved quarterbacks, and they said they're doing it for these young guys to help them evolve through the rest of the season. And look, those 2 guys look good. If you throw in Garrett Wilson and you got a tight end and Breece Hall, I think, that's not a bad offense. Really, if you have a quarterback. I'm not saying Tyrod's the guy next year. I'm saying if they can get a quarterback next year with that base.
Yeah. How about the Jets defense too, trading away all their best players and still playing just as good?
I got to think Lamar's not healthy.
I don't know if that was playing good or the Baltimore offense is broken and just complete trash. That's got to be one of the most surprising things here going forward. Is how bad Lamar has been for fantasy. 8 fantasy points this past week.
What do you have, 4 the previous week?
I just made a trade in Dynasty of I traded away Lamar and I got back Justin Herbert and Troy Franklin.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, if you've drafted Lamar Jackson, you couldn't have landed on a bigger grenade at the quarterback position this year. I mean, it's been that bad. And talk about things you never expect to see, like the Brian Thomas bombing in round 1. Lamar at the quarterback position, he was one of the elite 4 that people were clamoring to get on the draft board in the first 4 rounds. And
I don't think he's fully
disaster.
Huh? I don't think he's fully healthy.
He's not healthy.
He's not right.
He can't. Well, he can't.
I mean,
I'm sure. I hope
the first 4 or 5 games, he was amazing. He was getting 35 points, and Yeah,
Jaden Daniels, another one in our chat. Yeah, think about that. Mm-hmm. 2 out of the top 4. Actually, wait, I'm sorry. 3 out of the top 5. Jaden Daniels, okay, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson all bombed as fantasy picks this year, whether, for whatever reason, injuries or anything else. It's crazy.
Yeah, this wasn't the year to go all in on the elite quarterbacks.
No, it was the Drake May, the Dak Prescott,
Yep.
Those were the guys.
I mean, we say that, and then Josh Allen drops 55 points 2 weeks ago, and that's why you draft the elite quarterback early, So it's a give and take. You're gonna have hits and misses at each position, I guess, in early drafts. But
he didn't look so great Thursday night.
No, he did not look good. He he's had a lot of those actually. He's probably had. I mean, I'm not a Josh Allen owner, but off the top of my head, at least 3 or 4 weeks where he's been under 20 fantasy points, right?
That was a terrible matchup, though. I mean, as a Bills fan going in, the Texans own him. The Texans defense, their secondary. I mean, what's his name? Will Anderson basically won that game.
Yeah.
He basically took that game, and said,
The Bills, by the way, I mean, just sidebar. Bills are not a good team.
"Oh, they're not."
And you're going out real early in the playoffs. This is not a year that they're going deep.
The only good thing that comes out of this season is the head coach is fired, the GM is fired, and we get new voices in because
Matt wants to fire the Bills staff, the
I
Bengals
wanted
staff.
to fire the Bills head coach since that game against Kansas City with 13 seconds left. That was inexcusable. You should never have coached another game.
So it is kind of interesting, a little bit off topic, but who do you guys think wins the AFC this year? Chris?
Like goes to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, goes to the Super Bowl.
I think go ahead, guys. What do you all have?
I'll throw it out there. I think I would probably put my money on Denver. I do have money on Denver, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
But
I don't see it. Yeah,
I kind of, if the Chargers can get some offensive line, I wouldn't sleep on them. I think they can do some damage.
Listen, all these
I
answers.
think it's wide open.
It's definitely wide open. I'll say this: I'm still sticking with the two powerhouses. I still, as much as I just shitted on
Who's the two
Baltimore,
powerhouses?
I still think Baltimore wins the division, hosts a playoff game.
Baltimore is a powerhouse?
No, I'm saying that coming into the season, that they're looked at as a powerhouse. Baltimore, Kansas City. I still think one of those two teams will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl.
The Bengals should have won that game against the Patriots this week. They really should have beat them. If the Bengals beat the Ravens the two times they face them, that changes the whole division right there. And that's a terrible division. I mean, anybody could win that. But that's, Burrow's coming back. If they pull the upset on Thursday night, then it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to watch that division play out.
yeah,
And listen, I wanted to just say Ian Rappaport. Yeah. Ian Rappaport tweeted about 10 minutes ago that Burrow's officially back and starting this Thursday for anybody that was still on the fence. So let's turn it real quick. Who are you starting over Burrow this week? What quarterbacks? Where would he rank on your list of let's do it this way, guys. Burrow or Dak, first week back. Who are you starting?
Probably Burrow this week because Dak has got Kansas City. That's a tough defense.
Nelson?
I'm going to start Burrow.
I'm going to lean Burrow, but I just got burned on Dak, so I'm really having a hard time.
Okay. Burrow or
Drake May?
Lamar?
I'm going Burrow because I don't think Lamar's 100%. He does not look right.
But you got Lamar versus the Cincinnati
I got to go Lamar.
Lamar over Burrow. All right, so like top 5 or 6, you're saying?
Yeah, I don't love starting Lamar there either, but it's more a function of how bad the Cincy defense is.
I mean, the Jets' defense was kind of. I mean, just look at the last 2 weeks. I don't know. I don't think he can. Like I said, the Bengals should have beat the Patriots. They played really tough that game. They really did.
Yeah, their defense was once again the Achilles heel, though.
Yeah. Great, Matt, great
right now.
Find a way to win.
If T. Higgins is healthy.
Look, I mean, they won in spite of a lot of terrible calls that their own coaching staff made. We'll leave it at that.
I think Drake's the best quarterback in the AFC now.
This year so far, yes, he's proven it in all the metrics. If you believe in all these things, he's clearing away.
Like I think it's like from a real football standpoint. I think the way they're playing, I think it's Stafford and Drake May for like MVP.
I would give it to Stafford as much as I love Drake.
You got it's Stafford by a mile, I think, in that conversation. As great as Drake May's been, but I mean, it's going to be Stafford unless something drastically changes down the stretch. But it's going to be a good story, and he's going to win it. Guys, I got a question for you.
I'm still
we
mad.
have to hit a breakdown or no?
Yeah, we're about to do a break, but I'm still mad at Stafford because if he had been healthy, I'd have a lot more Puka and I'd have a lot more Devontae Adams this year. But with his health where it was, I was just like, I can't buy in at these prices.
If the Queen
I
had
have
balls,
some,
she'd
but
be the
not
king.
enough.
Matt, I was just gonna say the same exact thing.
What's
I was
that?
just gonna say the same thing.
What'd you say, Matt? I missed it. I'm sorry.
If the Queen had balls, she'd be the king.
Right, exactly. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We will be right back.
And we're back.
You're too fast on this, Nelson. I gotta leave the guys in the back
Gotta leave a
room.
beat.
A little bit of room here.
He was ready.
You've been jumping him, Dan. That's why. Itchy trigger finger.
All right, let me get the time of the break. It's so short that they'll never be able to.
Sorry.
Otherwise.
Let's
take it
pause
out
for a little bit.
Nelson got excited.
We'll do a libido commercial or whatever.
Ims. All right, let's go. Let's pick up the pace, boys.
Matt, what do you got? Anything else, or did you
Oh,
already
what do
blow
I
your?
got? I don't know.
Matt already
Did I-
prematurely shot his.
I just want to touch on this because now it's like really tough. Like week 13, you're in the playoffs in FFPC. You're fighting for the playoff spot in NFFC. Like Kenny Gainwell stole Jalen Warren's receiving role, which we all were so excited to draft Warren for. And I know Warren got the touchdown, thank God. That was like, saving grace. But what did Gainwell have, like 7 receptions or something like that, or targets? I mean, that to me is just really sad. And the other thing is a guy that we all was basically being promoted. It looked like I agreed. Judkins. I mean, I know he got 2 touchdowns this week, but he looked like he was on a path to just like win leagues. And it's really kind of, came to a slow.
Yeah,
I think part of that was, Gabriel. When nobody respects the passing game, then all they're going to do is try to.
But did they ever respect Gabriel? I'm just being honest.
Well, yeah, I know, but the point is, it took them a couple 3 weeks to figure out, they don't need to respect him, and now defenses have figured that out. Of course, now we've switched it over to Shador, so maybe things get better again. I can tell you, I was talking to Theo before the show. And he's talking about Judkins in his top 24 for next year.
Yeah, I mean, look, if they can get a quarterback for somebody,
Right.
Their offense isn't bad. But I don't know.
Man,
I'm just curious.
You guys got a nice life. Talking about next year, I've got fucking problems
Yeah.
with my
No,
lineup this
Nelson,
week.
I'm with
But
you.
no.
I'm over here battling. I'm trying to get as
talking
many
about
wins in the
Judkins for
dance.
rest of the season.
It's
I was
crunch
battling.
time, and we're talking Junkins 24 next year over here.
No, but
I'm grinding over here, picking up Kobe Parkinson, and you guys are talking about top 24 picks next
no,
year.
but honestly, what are you doing rest of the season with like Warren and Judkins? Like Judkins, you're obviously starting, but
Starting both.
Yeah, I'm starting Judkins. I do have a couple of teams where I've got first world problems, and Judkins can actually hit my bench from time to time. But
I'm not starting Judkins when the Browns are heavy underdogs because he does not get the pass game work, and they go away from him once they start losing. If they're in a competitive ball game or they're playing like the Raiders or whatever, then that's where I think Judkins can be started.
All right, what about Kenny Gainwell more? Listen, with Jalen Warren, he went from a borderline RB, back end RB1, high end RB2 in our minds. Now with the Kenny Gainwell reappearing again and putting up these good games, there's no way the Steelers are going to go away from this guy anymore. It's looking back to like mid-season when it became that 50-50 split for a couple of weeks. What does Kenny Gainwell look like in your eyes? Is he like that premier PPR back that you can rely on and stick in your lineups as a solid RB2 now going forward? Because in my mind, I think it is.
I think so too, because he's kind of taking over in short yardage. He had 6 of the 7 snaps in short yardage. He had 2 of 3 snaps in goal line.
Mm-hmm.
He beat Gainwell 6-2 on third down snaps, and he beat him 7-0 on 2-minute drill snaps. which says to me that Gainwell is getting the ball in the high leverage spots. So, because I've got a couple teams where I have both Gainwell and Warren, and I think I'm probably going to end up having to go Gainwell.
He's got a safer floor, I think, now with the receiving. But he's going to catch 4 or 5 balls a game. There's not that many running backs that are left like this. And in my opinion, we see who was the Kansas City Jerick McKinnon is who I'm trying to compare him to here down the stretch. Yes. Remember when Jerick McKinnon a couple of years back just started dropping 20 fantasy points each week for the Chiefs in this offense? Now, I don't know with Jaylen Warren there if that could happen, but there was somebody working in tandem with Jerick McKinnon. But Jerick McKinnon was just catching 5 to 7 balls each week and getting it done through the air. I think Kenny Gainwell is this guy down the stretch that can really help fantasy teams in the playoffs. If you're looking down at your bench and you see Kenny Gainwell, I know I have a ton of shares of him just backing up Jaylen Warren on some of these teams. I'm going to start playing Kenny Gainwell. I just did this past week, got rewarded with 18 fantasy points. I'm going to keep putting him back. He's in a good position again versus Buffalo this week in a game that hopefully is a high-scoring game. Kenny Gainwell, you could do a lot worse at this time of the year.
The fake tush push was a great call. That was a fantastic call, I have to say.
It was.
As much as we shit on Arthur Smith, that was a really good call.
More teams should do that, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's his name scored a touchdown on that too? Mark Andrews. He was running like 20 miles an hour. That was the most insane thing I saw. The week prior.
Yeah, that was.
Let me ask you guys this question. Obviously I think I know the answer, but are you guys worried about Saquon? He's coming up awfully small.
Absolutely, been worried about him. It's been a while. I don't have much Barkley this year. He was kind of a fade for me. I only have one share of him, but it's on a primetime team that's pretty damn good somehow. It's in tandem with Jonathan Taylor. So I'm trying to get that team into the playoffs here. But each week, it's just, meh. Again, the offensive line's falling apart. He's got a good matchup this Friday versus the Bears. But after that, he's got some tough matchups. You got to keep rolling him out. He's one of these guys. He's like a Justin Jefferson situation. What do? He's your guy. You got to keep him in the lineup. You're hoping for 15 fantasy points. You're done hoping to get the 25-30 fantasy point game. So you just got to sit there and hope that it's consistency between 15 and 20 fantasy points, and all the other pieces around your fantasy team get it done as well.
Yeah, and he's got like the third best strength of schedule left for running backs. So, maybe there's some hope. He's had a pretty terrible strength of schedule so far, but guys like Barkley should be immune to strength of schedule almost. That's what the hope is. I mean, do you pay attention to strength of schedule for Jonathan Taylor or H-An or CMC or anybody like that? I mean, that's the way it should. That's the way it should be for Barkley.
Well, I got 2 follow-ups to that. The first one with Barkley is, he's been banged up. I watched a ton of the Eagle games, and each game he's getting nicked up. And I wonder if he's not 100%. Listen, not many people are in week 12, but each week it just seems like he goes to the sideline wincing. He's dealing with something. Nelson, if you remember, this happened with Bijan last year that a lot of people, for whatever reason, really didn't recognize. He was still getting the touches and playing every week, but he wasn't right. And for like 3-4 week span, he was underproducing. I just think that's happening with Saquon right now, and he's fighting through it. He's not hurt enough where he can't play, but there's something not right with him. He's been missing, a couple practices over the last month. I don't know if it's a knee or what, but he's going to keep fighting through it. You just hope that he gets past it, and if you have him and you get into playoff range, he starts getting hot again. But I just don't think he's 100% healthy with Barkley. Leads me to my second point. I'll throw this around the horn to you guys. You're heading into the fantasy playoffs in a couple weeks, right? You get one choice to lead your fantasy team I have on your roster. Who is it between Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, CMC, or Bijan? Who do you want for the big dance?
For me, it's hard not to say CMC. I want to say Gibbs, but I mean, Taylor's deserves it as well, and I mean everybody kind of deserves it. But I think right now, I think I got to say CMC. He's just he has 81 catches on the year.
Yeah, that's wild. Nelson, you look like you're thinking hard over there, buddy.
Yeah.
Man. I can't believe I didn't say.
Can I jump in and just say one point here about Jonathan Taylor catches a huge break? Somebody said it the other day, and I immediately ran to their schedule because I was like, holy shit, they haven't played Houston yet. And if you're a Jonathan Taylor owner, you're like, oh no, it's coming. He's got to play him twice. I knew he was playing him this week. You don't want to see that obviously now, but you definitely don't want to see it in the fantasy playoffs. And then I looked and I was like, thank God they played them week 18. So you dodge that bullet for Jonathan Taylor owners. Is we only get Houston's defense once, and James Cook ran nicely against Houston's defense last week too. So I don't expect a full shutdown of Jonathan Taylor coming off of a slow game where Kansas City, made it their priority to slow Jonathan Taylor down.
I will say this: Bijan and Gibbs they're super explosive, but they each get the Rams in the shootout, and the Rams have just been nasty against running backs. Mm-hmm. Most running backs are just not producing against them. So I could see each one of them just having an off game when they go and play the Rams. So when you have Taylor and you have CMC don't have to face, that tough of a defense, I think that's a good thing for those guys.
I'll say the one thing for Bijan, you definitely want the Rams trailing because it seems like when they have the lead, Algier splits with him all the time. I mean, look, Algier's a good running back, but Bijan's next level. I don't get that.
It's just been in my mind with these backs. We just came off the week where Gibbs went ape shit, dropped 55 fantasy points. We've seen it from Jonathan Taylor so many times. We've seen it from CMC. When is the Bijan 40-plus point game coming? Is it coming?
I don't know.
The explosion, I feel like it's coming at some point here in the rest of the season. Hopefully it's in this week or the next. He's got a nice matchup versus the Jets here. Mm-hmm. At some point, Bijan's got to have that 180 and 2 touchdown game and 7 catch. He sees what's going on around the league. He knows he's the elite running back here in this group of the 4 elite running backs. They've all had their time to shine in the sun. They've all had their weeks. Bijan, at some point, you got to step up and drop that 40 for us.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to have a monster week. He's just too good. It's just, like I said, you want them trailing.
He's had 30-plus point weeks this year.
He destroyed the Bills.
1 or 2, Nelson. I was going to say, I know he's had the 30, low 30. I can't. What was his high? Does anybody know off the top of his? I know he had 1 or 2 really big games.
I would think the Bills game. The Bills game, he went off.
The Bills game was great, yeah. But I think
the Bills game. I think he put up like 36 or 37 in that one.
Just once, though, right? Unless I'm.
He's had
another big week.
He's had a couple of 30-point weeks.
Yeah, let me look. Another one.
All right. While Nelson's looking at that, I guess what I'm trying to say is the Gibbs game, the JT games, the 3 touchdown game, the explosion that carries your fantasy team that particular week and gives you a base of like 175. If you owned Gibbs this past week, that's, you look across the standings, there's teams that dropped to 200 plus. You without even going into that team, you could guarantee it was a Gibbs team. That's how you make a surge these last 2 weeks. If you're in 5th or 6th place and you're an owner of these guys, you need that 50-point game, that 45-point game, that monster explosion. We saw it with Josh Allen last week, Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, CMC. These guys are dropping big numbers, and that's what wins a league title these last couple of weeks.
So, Chris, with Bijan, I count this as a 30-point game. Week 4 against Washington, 28.1. That to me that's a big game. Buffalo week 6, 35.8.
There it is. That's his high though, right?
That's his high. Yep. And then just 2 weeks ago, week 11 against Carolina, 30.3.
Okay. So, I mean, off the top of my head, he had the 28 and a 30. I'm talking the 40 plus, and he only reached 35 one time. So at some point here, Bijan, let's drop the 40 plus.
I think you need a better offense to make 40 plus happen. I mean, it can't be just a one player deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take 37 and be happy.
No, I'll take 35 and be happy. I'm just saying that Bijan's the type of player that could break fantasy for the week, and we haven't had it happen yet.
Well, he basically what we've seen in Detroit as opposed to Atlanta is Dan Campbell came in and it's really gone the Gibbs way. He's just giving it to Gibbs and they're throwing the ball to Gibbs. Like, I don't understand. Like, to me, he's the closest thing we've had since Jamal Charles. And now to see him get these opportunities in the passing game, 45 yards, 11, the week before over 100 yards receiving, and he can take it to the house on any play. So, I mean, you're excited. Like, I got a Gibbs, Taylor, and JSN. I got a Gibbs, HN, and
Gibbs, Taylor, JSN,
and I got a Gibbs, HN, JSN. I got those. Well,
that's the nuts right there. That's the Gibbs, Taylor, JSN,
and I got Trevion on that team.
Trevion, there he is. Gotta get the Trevion.
Who's your number one wide receiver? Is it Parker Washington though?
No, it's JSN. He is the number one wide receiver on that team.
Oh, okay. Number two wide receiver.
Right now, it is actually. I do have injuries. It is Alec Pierce.
Listen, well, that's the problem right there. I mean,
okay, but I'm going to battle with that.
But you want a better 2 on your fantasy roster when you look down than that. Let's take that. We keep talking about the Jags a lot. That was one of my observations as well while we're on the topic. Anybody see the arrow pointing up for this Jags offense to finish strong? We talked about the backfield, but who looks real good all of a sudden? The chemistry between them. Jacoby Myers. Lawrence is a piece of shit. Don't get me wrong. He's not good. But,
he sucks.
Jacoby Myers –
He's getting it done for fantasy. He sucks, though.
Him and Caleb are like
and you know what's crazy, Nelson? I'm watching that game. I don't know if anybody else had the same feeling on Sunday. We all own different players and everything like that. But, I died through the 1 o'clock games. And then in the 4 o'clock games weren't looking great early either. And that Dallas big finish with their offense and the Arizona-Jacksonville explosion mixed in with the Rams at night. Like, it saved Sunday, in my opinion. But watching a lot of that Jacksonville-Arizona game, Trevor Lawrence, real life, terrible. 27 fantasy points, NFFC, even with the 3 interceptions. I'm just saying, I think this offense could move nicely in the pass game. They get Brenton Strange back, who should be a huge target if he's still available for you. With all the tight end injuries and issues right now in fantasy, if you could go to your waiver wire and find a Brenton Strange, put him back in, you might have a top 10 tight end the rest of the way here. Parker Washington is still getting it done. He didn't do anything in the first half. He had a nice second half and put up good numbers. Nelson's number 1 receiver. And Jacoby Myers. Now, it looks like Brian Thomas probably gets, back this week. What does this offense look like? Okay. Is this a sneaky offense the rest of the season? We know what's going on in the backfield, but Brian Thomas, Parker Washington in the slot, Myers on the opposite side, and Brenton Strange. I mean, is this a sneaky, good fantasy offense? And can we start trusting Trevor Lawrence as an underrated fantasy quarterback rest of season?
I think a little bit, because you've got Tennessee this week, then Indy, who's not great against the pass, the Jets. Then you got a really tough one, week 16. That's Denver, at Denver, and then back to Indianapolis again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's like Caleb. I mean, Caleb is, I don't think good. I mean, good in real life, but in fantasy, he's good. And even like T-Law, I think he's not a good real life quarterback, but he gets you to 20-plus fantasy points, it looks like,
Is anybody starting Caleb Williams this Friday in Philadelphia?
No.
I put him on every single one of my benches automatically this morning. I will not start Caleb Williams. I probably get burned. I did this, with the Purdy thing, but Caleb Williams is automatically out of my lineups this week. I'll say that right up front.
Just because you mentioned the Bears, I watched that Bears-Steelers game, and you saw like Colston Loveland. I think he's going to keep making those steps and separating there. And Luther Burden at the half had 5 targets, 3 receptions, 45 yards or so. He made a play right before the half that was just awesome. And I was so excited to see the second half. He got 0 targets. I was like, what the hell?
See, the problem here with the Bears is I think you mentioned it last week on the show, Matt. Their schedule is brutal going forward. They've had the cupcakes. That's why they're the fake 8-3 that they are. And Caleb's gotten the fantasy points done versus soft defenses. You look at the rest of the season here, and it's not good. And I'm looking at their schedule, and I'm like, I don't even know when I'm going to start Caleb again. It might be end of the road here for Caleb, and I'm worried about the offense, but I loved what I saw these last couple of weeks with Colston Loveland, and I'm hoping for the big finish with him. He started playing more snaps over Kmet. Hopefully he's that tight end that produces rest of the way. If I own him, all the shares I own of him, he's going back in. I'm locking him in as my starting tight end on a lot of teams. Set it and forget it rest of the way, and just hoping that he gives double-digit points the rest of the season here.
Yeah, Chicago schedule: Philadelphia, Green Bay, Cleveland, Green Bay, and then San Francisco finally.
Brutal. I mean, San Francisco is great to get matched up against, but you got to get there. And those 4 weeks do not sound good at all.
All right.
Who's next?
Nelson?
I wanted to talk a little bit about like FFPC and playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I was talking to a couple of guys about this week. With the head-to-head playoffs and week 14 bye, I could see, this is just more of like an observation for me, I could see CMC being lower owned percentage-wise in the FFPC shootout in their contest versus NFFC, because there's going to be probably a bunch of 3-4 seeds of CMC that are not going to get there come week 14, because he's going to have a bye and they're going to need to win and they're going to get knocked out.
Good observation there. Yeah. And you look up and they're in Cleveland, week 13 here, right, Nelson? Mm-hmm. So that's a tough matchup as well. It might be a tough 2 weeks for CMC owners. Another reason why I just hate that, FFPC, the way it's structured there with, you got your studs like a CMC and with all the money on the line, you're playing during a bye week. I mean, it sucks in NFFC also. You come down to the final week of the regular season and, you lose CMC, but you knew this going into the season, right? Mm-hmm. We know what each player's bye week is. It just sucks, and it's why teams shouldn't have buys after week 12, in my opinion.
That's the NFL's fault, in my opinion. Fantasy is such a big thing, and how they haven't accommodated that to this point.
Yeah,
is
a week 14 bye week is just absolutely ridiculous. It's so late in the season to give a team off now. I mean, at worst it should be 13, but week 14 is ridiculous.
You could see some teams where they're just not locked into a top 2 seed, and then you hit week 14 and you don't have CMC in the championship match, and you're facing a pretty good team, and you don't get there. All those CMC teams are out of it.
But I do like that how the FPC does it, because the top 2 after week 12 get the automatic bid. And now 3 and 4. Now, if you're the 3 and 4, you're playing the 1 and 2 that doesn't have CMC. You get a chance to earn that automatic bid and actually win some cash. So it's actually, I don't think it's bad. Originally, I was not crazy about it, but I actually like it.
Yeah, I don't know, Matt. I mean, I play FFPC and NFFC. I love them both, but that is the single biggest thing that just drives me crazy about the FFPC format is that you only have a 12-week regular season, and then this week 13 and 14, and they know that there's going to be buys every week, every year, in week 14.
But you are getting the automatic berth if you finish top 2 after week 12. I think that's fair. And you're giving 3 and 4. If you're 4th place, now you have a chance to win money and get an automatic berth into the dance. That's not bad.
I have a problem with with having playoff games when there's buys going on.
I don't
I
like
just
it
don't think
neither.
it should happen.
But now, what happens like in the NFFC after 13 weeks? I'm in right now, and then week 14. My
Yeah,
CMC,
but that's regular season. You
Drake
had
May.
CMC all 13 weeks. You've got to lose them 1 week, just like everybody else lost. Every one of their players 1 week for sure. You got to lose. And yeah, it's week 14, but you better build up enough of a lead so that it doesn't matter. I mean, that otherwise, it's, to me, there's a huge difference between losing a player the last week of the regular season and losing a player during the playoffs at any time.
Just looking ahead to that week 14, and we've touched on it a couple weeks in a row now, but now that we're almost here, you look at who's on the bye, and obviously the main attraction is the CMC teams take the big hit, right? But you look at the other teams, and other than Drake May, the Patriots don't have a superstar that you're really feeling losing. The Panthers, you could kind of maybe say Tet McMillan, but I don't think he's on that level yet of like, oh my God, I don't have Tet McMillan in week 14 with the money on the line. And the Giants, the same thing. Okay. So it's really CMC. And then at the tight end position, George Kittle. Right. Think about all those playoff teams in week 14 that have to go to the wire, figure out a way to fill in for George Kittle. And then in the NFFC, you're dragging them into the fantasy playoffs as well. So, it could be worse, team-wise, player-wise. But obviously CMC and Kittle are the two headline players that teams are going to, feel the most.
I think at quarterback, it's also a situation. You could have Drake May, Jackson Dart, and who's your third quarterback?
Yeah, but I don't think – I don't think Dart is your
well, no, but I'm saying he was like
quarterback
you
right
have
now.
May.
You have some options. You haven't had him for 2 weeks.
But I'm saying if you have May, May's on a bye too that
you.
week.
Yeah. All right, Nelson.
No, I was about to say, if you've got Drake May or Brock Purdy and you got bye week problems, you got to go check out my Fab article because I've got some sexy streams at quarterback that you can roll with.
Are you shook?
You turning teams over Shador Sanders?
Yeah, we're talking Tyler Shook. We're talking Tua, Kirk Cousins,
Tua's in a good
Rosmer.
spot. Yeah, Tua's in a good spot this week.
I was picking up Shook.
It's late and it's ugly, Nelson. It's late and it's ugly. But you know what? While we're on this topic, let's talk about it. Let's talk about another observation I had is talking about Fab here with 2 weeks left. Okay, first thing is, number one, I don't know what all you people are doing out there. It boggles my mind every year. I look in some of my leagues and 3-4 guys have still $400, $500, $600 left. I don't know what you're doing. I know we're going into this week 13 here. There's not much available on the wire, to drop the bag on. So if you're sitting there holding all this money until this point, you might be stuck with it, especially if you're, I get it. Some of you guys are in 12th, 11th place and you were holding your money and now it's gone.
Chris, why are we bringing this to light? This is how we want it.
Oh, 100%. I got you. You're right.
Right? You don't know what they're doing. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, keep sleeping, I guess. That was the moral of the story. Keep sleeping and not spending the money.
I wish I had more money.
Chris, can I tell you just one quick story?
Yeah.
So last week in a prime time of mine, actually it was Steve G that mentioned this to me because I don't necessarily look at the drops like right away after they happen. But he goes, hey, Zay Flowers got dropped in the prime time that me and you are in. And I go, what? Really? He goes, yeah, go check it out. So I was like, all right, let me go look, see what's going on here. So I go and look. Rashad Bateman gets picked up. Zay Flowers gets dropped. Okay. And I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm like, all right, let me go to this team. Team's in 11th place. Okay. Got $998 left. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, this smells fishy. Something's wrong here. So I go and look. Got like Tyreek on the team, like 2 or 3 IR guys on the team.
mailed it
The
in.
healthiest receiver was Zay Flowers. Okay.
Yeah.
So they ended up sending an email, like NFFC sent an email. They locked Zay Flowers after
That's the right move.
Yep.
That's the right
Was
move.
that just to your league that they sent the email, or across the board?
just to the league.
Okay.
Yeah. So they ended up.
I would have stood
making the
out.
right
I was going to
call.
say I would have saw that on the Fab pickup page. Holy
Yeah.
shit!
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So they ended up making the right call, but so like Steve was like beside himself, right? And I'm like, he's like, how can you do this, this and that? And I go, Steve, at the end of the day, this person, which will remain nameless, has $998. They've made 2 moves all year. Okay.
Kicker
Yes,
defense.
this one right here is fishy. Okay,
Yes.
but like they're dead. Like they're dead in the water. Like we want that. Like we want to have 11-man leagues.
Yeah.
You know, the competition's tough enough. So that was just an observation I wanted to bring up.
But Nelson, to that point, like in the FFPC, week 11, you drop somebody, they're done. Week 12, they're done. Nobody can pick them up. And I like that because
I agree with that, Matt.
You know, it
Yeah,
just
that
gets fishy like that. thing.
That's
That
one
might be
place where
something
the
for the
FFPC
NFFC
has
to
it
look
right.
into. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. I have 2 things though, sticking on this topic. And Nelson, I'm glad you brought that issue up in Fab. My main observation here is I wanted to talk about something that happened in mine and Dan's league and just get you guys' opinion. But before that, talking of Fab and then the people spending money and everything like that, now's the time to really lock in. If you're taking teams to the fantasy play, if you got to spend up for that fantasy defense or whatever, lock in a couple handcuffs to your starting running backs. Now's the time to do it. But what else is now the time to do is if you're carrying a Josh Allen, Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, now's the time to put the dollar bids on the Minshew's, the Trubisky's, the Jimmy G's. If you're a Matt Stafford owner, if you don't have a good backup quarterback, don't go to the wire and pick up J.J. McCarthy and carry him in. And if your Mahomes goes down or your Josh Allen goes down, you're done. Just go get the good offenses, the backup quarterbacks in good offenses now in either week 13 here or week 14. Cover your ass and take that into the playoffs. You'll be happy you did it. We see it every year where somebody goes down. Now's the time to cover your ass a little bit with those backup quarterbacks that could come in. A Gardner Minshew could come in Kansas City and give you 25 fantasy points in a week if Mahomes goes down.
It's a good point, Chris. I've been bringing this up the last couple of weeks, actually, more so with like FFPC teams to start doing this because players do get locked. But to me, I know the argument's going to be like the counterpoint is, oh, Mitch Trubisky is no freaking Josh Allen. But that's not necessarily the point. The point is it guarantees you a starting quarterback if Allen or your starter goes down for 1 week or whatever it is, you guaranteed that starting quarterback. And it's the same thing. Same goes for tight end. I believe that too, because what ends up happening is those 2 onesie positions, your QB2 or tight end 2 might be just total garbage. And there's no guarantee that they have the starting job come like week 15, week 16, right, of the season. So like if you have like an Aaron Rodgers, like for example, or, kind of like that fringe type of guy, just drop him and pick up the direct backup.
But I like to carry and I'm not saying to just drop the, your other quarterback. Okay. But like Nelson says, that's actually a great point, Nelson. You're right. Week 15, your quarterback could get a concussion. All right, well, I guess still got my starting quarterback. Well, the next week he gets hurt. Now you're in week 17 and you lost both quarterbacks, or, somebody gets benched and you lose 2 guys. But if your main quarterback gets hurt or a concussion or whatever, at least you got that Gardner Minshew sitting there so you're covered. We see it all the time. A team is in contention and you hit the playoff weeks, and both your quarterbacks or both your tight ends get hurt in 15 or 16 or in the same week, at least you have that dollar backup, like Nelson's saying, at tight end, at $1 Cole Kmet. If Colston Loveland and Travis Kelce are your tight ends. Okay, and Kelsey catches an injury, and now you're just like, well, at least I only have Loveland, and Loveland gets hurt in week 16. If you had $1 Cole Kmet, at least you got something covered, something like that.
Noah Gray.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Cover those onesie positions a little bit is the moral of the story.
I agree with Minshew and the Eagles' backup. He was good last year.
McGee.
The Bills, if Josh Allen goes down, that offense is going to be like the Jets. I mean, it's going to be James Cook.
But Trubisky runs. I'm just saying. Matt,
yeah, no, I'm
you know
just,
what I mean?
That would be the only one I'm kind of like, because I mean, Josh Allen's the only thing keeping this thing.
I know what you're saying, Matt, but like I have like I don't have much Josh Allen, but I have like a couple of teams, and I can tell you like I wasn't drafting like Drake May or Dak or any of those guys once I had Josh Allen. I pushed it way back, and I wasn't picking up like Daniel Jones or anything like that. So those particular teams, I got garbage as my like second quarterback. So I'm just looking at it and I'm like, there's no guarantee this guy holds the job cut in like 3 weeks from now. So at least I'm just guaranteed like a starter. So I can get some points out of that position if I'm in contention.
Just piggybacking off of that, usually I always have a solid backup. But this year when I took like Burrow and I waited for like maybe a Bryce Young, I will never do that again. I don't care. I'm willing to burn the 12th round pick, maybe even the 11th round, whatever I got to do. I like having a good backup. We see too many of these elite quarterbacks getting hurt this year as well. And
that's what I'm saying.
It always treated me well. So
I get what Nick is saying in the chat. Like if you're starting Trubisky, you're probably not winning, but like I want to give myself a chance. Like don't give me the guaranteed 0. At least, let me try to get like 14 points out of Mitch Trubisky if I've got a shot at an overall. If like the team just
say I'll never forget the guy. I'll never forget in an overall in the last like 5-6 years ago. Guy had 2 quarterbacks. The same situation broke out. He lost both of them. He was like 5th or 6th overall in shooting distance of winning the overall in week 17 or whatever it was back then, the championship week, and he had to go in without a quarterback. Okay, and I know bad things happen, but what Nelson says is if that particular owner had the $1 Mitch Trubisky, at least he's not taking a 0 at the quarterback position. I'll tell you right now, I have a Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, 2 teams that are going to the shootout. I'm going to pick up a $1 Jake Browning or a $1 the kid in Dallas, whatever. Joe Milton. Yep. Just because, you know what? Maybe the Bengals say, all right, we're shutting Burrow down in week 15. There's no more pickups. So now I'm all in. I'm sitting there with just Dak. And what happens if Dak gets banged up or a concussion in week 16? At least I could slip Milton in or Browning in and get 15, 20 points if the first 2 weeks went good. Or I'm not taking a 0 at the quarterback and eliminating myself. So that's just the point.
You never want to say never either. You never want to say never because, like Abib a couple of years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago now, won the FFPC, the whatever their mid-stakes used to be, football guys. He won that without a kicker. He had no kicker for like the entire sprint. And to me, the difference between your Josh Allen and Mitch Trubisky might be like the same score you could get from a kicker. So
I used to do that with the kickers, but thank God the NFFC went to team kicker. So now you can it's smart because thank God because now it allows you to only carry 1 kicker into the shootout. But I used to carry 2 in every single year.
So like to Dan, your point, it worked out for Abib, right? That he got lucky enough that he took a 0 out of position and still won it. But
yeah, and I'm not saying you should take a 0 at quarterback because that's more expensive more problematic than kicker.
Yeah.
But to your point, Nelson, the difference between that backup quarterback and that frontline quarterback might be, basically what a kicker would score. Mm-hmm. So, if you can win without a kicker, you can win with a backup quarterback, I think.
Yeah.
It's a thin outcome, but, you want to at least give yourself the chance. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I just,
Chris,
Dan,
you were gonna talk about our league. I think I know I think I know where you're going here.
Did you see it, Dan? I meant to text you the other day. So I know we're up against it and I want to get this out, but I just wanted your opinions on what you guys would have did in this situation. Me and Dan are in this primetime league. I'm a top 2 team. It looks like I'm heading to the playoffs. the standings look pretty like there's top 3 teams locked into the playoffs. Everyone else is pretty chasing behind. So I'm kind of trying to set my team up for a playoff run here. Garrett Wilson gets dropped last week in this particular league. Okay. Garrett Wilson gets dropped. He's one of 3 primetime leagues across the board where he got dropped and was available last week's Fab run. Okay. Now, in this particular league, who also was available was Luther Burden, who I think at this point, the arrow's pointing up. We all like Luther Burden. He's the type of player you want to drop the bag on with 2 weeks left in Fab season to put on your roster and hope that he's one of those guys, right? So I go into last week's Fab run, and I'm going back and forth by the hour. I had $350 available. The other 2 guys in the league that were in the top 3 with me had less than $50 available. So I went back and forth with, do I drop the whole bag on either Burden or Garrett Wilson, okay, and hope that Garrett Wilson comes back, or do I split the bid like $175 each and hope that I get both of them somehow? I thought about it long and hard, and I thought that the difference maker would be if Garrett Wilson comes off IR in week 15, he's the type of player that you're not going to find off the waiver wire and is a type of player that you drop the bag on this late in the season. I want to swing it to you guys. What would you guys have done? Would you have dropped the bag on Burden instead of Garrett Wilson, who might not even play again, and take the chance on Burden being that piece, or vice versa? And I just want to throw it to you because it was an interesting Fab issue that I dealt with, and it was a tough decision. So how would you guys have played that?
I would not have split it.
Okay.
I don't remember who had what for Fab money, but I wouldn't have felt comfortable with 150 on either. Turns out 150 would have won them both. I mean,
exactly.
In hindsight, that's exactly.
Were you shocked at those bids, Dan?
I was, yeah.
Now, a caveat to this whole thing was there was 3 guys in the league that had way more money than me. So I thought there was a chance that I wouldn't get anybody. I would have thought maybe somebody would have dropped 400 on Burden, 400 on Wilson, and I could have not got anybody. So, Dan, you said what you said. Matt, what do you think? What would you have done?
I'm one of the biggest Garrett Wilson fans. I'm just nervous if he's coming back this year. That's the thing. Like, I don't know.
Would you have taken the chance on a fantasy playoff team to put Wilson or Burden?
Oh, no, I definitely would have. I would have went with one of them. I agree with Dan. I would have dropped, I would have went all out for one of them. And I love Wilson. I just don't know if he's coming back. So that would have been the hard part. I might have went Burden for that because it looks like he can. I'm just worried. I'm worried about, but I don't think it's a wrong choice. I mean, like it's tough, like you said. I would have been really going back and forth myself.
Nelson.
I probably would have went the healthy.
Nelson.
Wilson, for me. He's the guy that I think can be the biggest difference maker. And I wouldn't have split the bid. I would have been all in on one, same bid on Burden underneath Wilson.
Right.
That's exactly what I did.
Try to almost guarantee myself that I get one of them.
Yep. So in the end, guys, that's exactly what I did. I decided I'm never going to get a Garrett Wilson off waivers this late. And if he shows up in week 15 off of the wire, now I have a stud wide receiver, 1 or 2, to add to my team. And that could maybe take me over the top. So I did exactly what Nelson just said. I had like 335 available. I think I went 311 Wilson, 311 Burden with Wilson on top. And I said, I'm not getting both, but I'll be happy with either one. Got Garrett Wilson. The caveat to this was, like Dan said, the runner-up bid was $32.
Yeah,
Garrett Wilson.
And Burden went for 79 with the runner-up at 38. So
amazing, right? So
that is amazing.
Yeah, that was it. That was it was just something that I struggled with last week. But
I'm
happy to have Garrett Wilson on this team now that hopefully goes to the playoffs.
Like, to me, like why are the Jets going to play this guy? Like, you can let these other 2 develop. But I agree. I love Garrett Wilson. It's just like if you got a chance at the number 1 pick, it's like you have it out.
Yeah, Nick Constantino's asking me, did you need a wide receiver, Chris? No, no. It's Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, and DK Metcalf are my top 4. So now Garrett Wilson is my 5, or however you want to do that.
I think DK is your 5, but
well, Garrett Wilson, if he plays, he's going to start over one of those guys. I could tell you that much. But it's like I said, you put him on a roster now. He shows up in week 15. Now I got options to play with. So,
well, it was definitely the right move. I probably would have went like 325 or something.
Yeah,
would have been more.
That's it. I went all in. That was it, and that's why
I would definitely wanted one of them.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anyone else? Nelson? Anything?
No, I think.
All right.
Covered it all.
Matt?
Yeah.
No, happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yeah.
You too, guys.
Looking forward to the day. It's you get to sit down, watch 3 really good games. We haven't, every year it seems like you get a clunker in there football-wise matchups. There's a team with a bad record, it's happened again. But I think we look at this Cincinnati game a lot differently because of Burrow and Chase. We have monster fantasy players. It's 3 really fun fantasy games this Thursday, and looking forward to the day for sure.
I will make one point, Chris. I'm actually thinking twice about the Dak question on whether to start him and everything, because I had just looked at that a little closer because I haven't really
the Dak Burrow one, you're saying?
Yeah. So with Dak, that Kansas City Cowboys game is at 52 for a total.
Yeah.
That's pretty big. So I'm starting to rethink that whether and Dak's at home. So I don't know. I think I might play Dak in a game like that.
I think it's a real close call, honestly. Yeah. And one of the decision points already in my brain is that I know Hamilton got hurt for the Ravens. If he's out this Thursday on a short week, that might sway me. I have enough shares of Dak where I could play around with it and put Burrow in. But that's a tough call, no doubt. That Kansas City defense, Spagnuolo, he knows how to F with people. And I just don't want to make a fool out of Dak on a short week. But we'll see. We'll see. That game hopefully plays 31-28, and the pumpkin pie tastes good at night.
That's right.
I think pumpkin pie is the most overrated.
It sucks. Yeah. Matt, I'm with you. Pecan pie it's pecan pie or bust.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, love the pecan.
Pecan.
The pecan. Menengi.
Menengai.
All right, boys. Another one of the books.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us this week. As always, we love the feedback. So as Nick said, hit that like button. We appreciate that. Leave a comment. Give us a review. Whatever's appropriate to the format on which you are consuming this here show. So good luck to everybody in the Empire this week. Once again, we are thankful for each of you. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for watching. We hope you have a wonderful holiday surrounded with friends and family. And happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you all next week.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.